In the vibrant world of 1970s television, there was one show that captured the hearts of millions globally: Little House on the Prairie. Yet, behind the screen's glittering facade, Karen Grassle's story held more than just sweet memories. In her memoir, Bright Lights, Prairie Dust, Reflections on Life, Loss and Love from Little House's Ma, Grassle revealed challenging and hurtful hidden corners, particularly her complex relationship with co-star and the most influential person on set, Michael Landon. This raises a haunting question. Why would a veteran actress like Karen Grassle never dare to rewatch certain episodes, especially those filmed in 1974, the inaugural year of this hit series? The glimmer and gloom of Little House on the Prairie. Little House on the Prairie, launched in 1974, quickly became a global cultural phenomenon. The show was more than just entertainment. It was a symbol of family strength, perseverance, and the spirit of overcoming adversity. Every week, millions of families gathered before their TV screens to follow the adventures and profound life lessons of the Ingalls family. This resounding success turned the cast, especially Michael Landon and Karen Grassle, into beloved and familiar faces. Michael Landon was not only the heart and soul of the show with his portrayal of Charles Ingalls, the exemplary, courageous, and deeply loving father, but also a powerful force behind the camera. He served as an executive producer, director, and even a writer for numerous episodes. Landon's influence on set was undeniable. He had the final say on almost everything, from scripts and casting to the daily working atmosphere. As a multifaceted and visionary man, Landon created a timeless masterpiece, a television legacy that, almost 50 years later, is still revered. The image of the national father he built on screen deeply ingrained itself in the audience's minds, making it difficult for the public to imagine another, less idealized side of him. However, this very power and unshakable position created a complex environment. This was especially true for those who worked closely with him, including Karen Grassle. Behind-the-scenes cracks and psychological trauma. Beneath the perfect facade of the Ingalls family on screen lay a complex story of relationships between the actors, particularly between Grassle and Landon. What happened behind the cameras was not always as serene as the vast prairie landscapes. Although Little House on the Prairie began airing in 1974, it wasn't until the second season, around 1975 to 1976, when the show had proven its immense appeal and become a phenomenon, that Grassle began to ask for a raise. This was a perfectly reasonable and common request in the entertainment industry when a series achieved major success. However, according to Grassle's account, Michael Landon adamantly refused. Karen Grassle felt insulted and devalued. She was a professional actress with experience performing Shakespeare in England and on Broadway. She knew her worth and had spent time building good relationships with the child actors, creating genuine connections in the show. Landon's refusal to meet her salary request made her feel that her hard work and talent were not being adequately recognized. This dispute was not just a simple contract negotiation. It dragged on for over a year, creating an extremely tense atmosphere on set. Every day at work was a challenge for Grassle as she had to face coldness and unpleasant attitudes from her co-star and boss. This left a deep scar on her memory and working experience. The salary tensions didn't just stop at contract negotiations. According to Grassle, Michael Landon began to show his displeasure in very public and hurtful ways. She recounted that Landon became cold and openly expressed his irritation towards her on set. Notably, Grassle revealed a shocking detail. During bedroom scenes that inherently require comfort and trust between actors, Landon frequently told vulgar jokes about female anatomy. This was not only uncomfortable, but also made Grassle feel publicly humiliated. Imagine a woman sitting on set, with dozens of eyes on her, while her co-star made crude remarks about women's bodies and everyone around them laughed. Grassle felt frozen, helpless, and unable to resist. At that time, the concept of sexual harassment was not as widely understood and recognized as it is today, leaving victims like Grassle without the tools or voice to protect themselves. The working atmosphere became so tense that Grassle described it as "you could cut it with a knife." She constantly faced the fear of what Landon would do next to show his displeasure. This caused immense psychological pressure, forcing her to maintain professionalism desperately. She continued to go to work every day, striving to perform her role well, despite enduring injustice and inappropriate remarks. These experiences were not just unpleasant memories, they were deep psychological scars, forming an inseparable part of her memory of the show. Psychological pressure on Karen Grassle. As a professional actress, Karen Grassle understood that she had to maintain her composure at work. She had performed Shakespeare in England, had been on Broadway stages, and knew her worth. But on the Little House set, she faced a different challenge: how to continue dedicating herself to the role when her co-star and direct boss was making things difficult for her. Michael Landon's overt displays of annoyance forced Grassle to confront not only Landon, but also the awareness of the entire crew. "Everyone knew he was upset with me," she recalled. This created immense pressure, compelling her to stay strong, not allowing herself to show weakness or give up. "I made a decision that I was going to show up and do my work every day, but it was hard." She didn't want to abandon herself or the career she had painstakingly built. The absence of a clear mechanism to address harassment and unprofessional behavior in the entertainment industry at that time further made Grassle feel isolated and helpless. She had no words for sexual harassment back then, which made Landon's actions even harder to confront. She could only sit there, trying to get through those terrible moments, with the men around her laughing along with Landon. These experiences deeply shaped Grassle's perspective on the show and the people who made it. They are indelible memories, making rewatching old footage a painful experience, reminding her of a difficult and challenging period in her career and life. Daring not to watch the 1974 episodes. So what made Karen Grassle, who fully embodied the role of Ma Ingalls, unwilling to rewatch the very footage she was a part of, especially the episodes filmed in 1974? The answer lies in the overlay of painful memories, behind-the-scenes tensions, and the psychological trauma she had to endure. Although the most intense salary disputes primarily occurred from the second season, around 1975 to 1976, 1974 was the inaugural year, where the initial foundations for the complex relationship between Grassle and Landon were laid. These early episodes might have already contained underlying tensions, moments where Grassle felt uncomfortable, or simply the act of rewatching any footage from that period could trigger unpleasant emotions. Rewatching those episodes would undoubtedly resurface painful memories of injustice, helplessness, and the negative emotions she experienced. Imagine having to look at herself on screen, smiling and acting, while internally suffering immense pressure from her colleague and boss. It's like looking at an old scar you don't want to touch, not wanting to feel the past pain. Specifically, the bedroom scenes where she was verbally abused by Michael Landon are surely moments Grassle would not want to revisit for even a second. For Grassle, not rewatching those episodes is a psychological defense mechanism. It's her way of protecting herself from old wounds, preventing those emotional scars from being reopened. She put immense effort into overcoming that difficult period, and rewatching those films could jeopardize the peace she has since found. This speaks not only to Grassle's personal experience, but also reflects a harsh reality in the entertainment industry at that time, where power was often abused and the voices of the vulnerable were often ignored. A difficult journey to sobriety. Beyond the challenges on set, Karen Grassle also faced a silent but arduous personal battle. alcoholism. In her memoir, she did not hesitate to share her courageous journey to sobriety. This reveals another layer of pressure and internal struggle she had to endure during the peak years of her career. Grassle confessed she resisted seeking help for a long time, trying to keep everything under control. She didn't realize the negative extent to which her drinking problem was affecting her life, a common trait among those struggling with addiction. "The one thing that alcoholics don't want to do is not drink," she said. "We find so many rationalizations for how everything is going wrong in life. But we don't want to look at the core issue." The turning point came when her best friend from age 7, Tony, directly confronted her and said she needed help. "There was no way I could get out of it," Grassle recalled. "She knew me. I couldn't fight the truth she spoke." After that conversation, just one more terrible night was enough for her to make a life-changing decision. She got drunk, argued with a very close friend, and then returned home in tears, full of self-pity. The next morning, she woke up and told herself, "I am never going to take another drink, no matter what happens." This was a powerful vow because she believed her life would fall apart. "I thought I might lose my job. I certainly might lose my boyfriend. I thought I would never go to a fancy restaurant again. How could you go to a fancy restaurant without drinking? How could you eat Mexican food without drinking beer?" She thought her life was over. However, it turned out to be a tremendous blessing. Grassle described herself as a high-functioning alcoholic, just like her father, who still went to work every day, worked hard, paid bills, but ultimately died from his addiction. Grassle was the same. She woke up every day with a terrible hangover, tried to calm herself, went to work, focused on her job all day. And as soon as work was done, she turned to alcohol again. The fact that she kept her job gave her more reason to continue the habit. Finally, in June 1977, Karen Grassle successfully became sober. This was a significant milestone in her life. "Everything changed from that day," she said. "I looked at life in a whole new way. I was able to truly discover who I was and what I wanted in life. And oh my God, it was a whole process of effort, but it was all worth it." This journey shows Grassle's extraordinary inner strength, overcoming not only external difficulties, but also personal battles with herself. The delayed reconciliation. Despite their profound conflicts, Karen Grassle's life and career aren't solely defined by her struggles. Her relationship with Michael Landon, though challenging, eventually found a respectable resolution. Grassle shared that she wrote a letter to Landon to check in and update him on her life. He responded very kindly and even suggested she call him to talk about the old days before we forgot them. She did. "We had a delightful chat about some of the people we worked with," Grassle shared. "But we made peace, and I felt there was a lot of forgiveness on both sides." They reminisced about the better parts of their relationship. Grassle was incredibly grateful for this, as not long after, Landon was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and passed away in 1991. This reconciliation highlights the complexity of their relationship. Although Landon's behavior was unacceptable, Grassle also acknowledged the pressures he endured. "He was a very complex person and came from a difficult childhood," she remarked. "So, for someone to carry that many issues and be able to turn it into work that served others, that deserves a lot of credit." Today, Karen Grassle is recognized as one of the most beloved mothers in television history. She feels honored by that title and stated that she built the character of Caroline in Galls based on her own mother. Despite the challenges, Grassle continues to cherish the affection audiences have for Ma. "I didn't initially understand the depth of people's affection for her. But people still contact me and express how much they love her. That's very satisfying, and I'm incredibly fortunate." What are your feelings about Karen Grassle's story? Did you ever imagine that a show bringing so much joy and beautiful memories, like Little House on the Prairie, hid such challenging complexities behind the scenes? Karen Grassle's story of resilience, forgiveness, and finding herself is truly inspiring. If you found this article helpful,